some hope to die.
By these 50 countries, differing so much in race and religion, in language and culture.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
Well, I know they're lying. They tricked me once, but they're not going to trick me twice. The time is now. Welcome back to the Professor Penn podcast. David Penn, your host. Glad to be with you as always for episode number 262. We have a special guest, friend of mine. We're going to introduce him in a second. Coming to you, this is Tuesday night, the 9th of December, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I would like to go, before I bring the guest in, over a few housekeeping issues. Number one, tomorrow night, the 10th of December, Wednesday, Wayzata Central Middle School. We're having a peer-to-peer get-together in the auditorium there at Wayzata Central Middle School. You are invited. Please come. On the stage will be candidate for Senate Royce White, candidate for governor, Mr. Phil Parrish. It's a community meeting. It's going to last from 7 till 9, 2 hours. The candidates will make some presentations. I will make some presentations. And then we will sit and talk as a community. This is going to be an ongoing deal. So I want to say to Stan Hamilton, my friend who runs the CD3 Executive Committee, anytime the Republicans of CD3 would like to participate, the door is open, because contrary to what the small minds in the party believe, we in the citizens movement are all about unity because we want to win. Why are you holding us out? We love you. We love you, Rhino Republicans. And as more and more of us citizens join the political process, you are all going to turn into America Firsters too, because you're professionals. You go where the money is. We just need more people. So that'd be on December 10th. That's tomorrow night, Wednesday. If you're in Minnesota and you're hearing this, Carl, you're welcome to come I'll pick you up at the airport. I want to bring on my guest because I've already let the cat out of the bag. Killercarl, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, David. You must have the spirit of Christ in you, because you love those Rhino Republicans. I don't know how you do it, brother. I need to get some of that because it's hard for me.
It's all strategy and tactics. First of all, I want to say this is a very good way to start. A very good way to start. And I think that's a great opening salvo. They certainly hate me. When I say hate, I was born Jewish here in Minnesota in the 50s. Christ came into my life in 1989. These people see me as Jewish. They really are not interested in my theology. And I have never experienced anti-Semitism in my entire life until I started interacting with some of the Republicans in the party in the western suburbs of Minneapolis and St. Paul. It was awful and was very disappointing. And to take it a step further, my mother, who was a leftist extraordinaire, told me that I was a token. And I got so mad at my mother for saying that to me, because this is before the acrimony broke out, and I was furious. These people like me. Why would you token? What are you talking about, Mom? Are you goofy? And when I use the word you, it's already fighting words, right? Anyhow, to my mother, if she happens to be listening to this, I apologize, Mom. You were correct. There is some tokenism involved in it. And when I stood up and they recognized that I had charisma and that I was interested in organizing, they threw me out as best they could. But let me just respond directly to your question, because one of the things that I find most disturbing is when we ask candidates questions, direct question, like, what is the color of the sky? Well, the sky is a theoretical construct. And, when we study, and they never just say blue. So I want to just respond directly why I say I love the rhinos. It's strategy. It's just purely strategy. And Carl, and for those of you in my audience, Carl has a wonderful show on Rumble, a live stream, which runs at, is it 8 p.m. Eastern Time? 7 p.m.
Yep, 8 p.m.
8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central. Tuesday till Saturday. It's a great show. He's got a very large following. And just to give you a little context, Carl kind of adopted me. He came out of the blue and said, I'd like to meet you. So that's why we're here today. I've appeared on his show. He's coming on my show. We're forming a peer-to-peer political relationship because we are aligned in our politics. But Carl brings up a great question. Why do you say you love the rhinos? Well, number one, on a personal basis, I haven't really met that many Republicans I dislike personally. It has happened, the liars particularly. But, it's hard to piss me off because I've been in business since 1979. And after you've been through the experiences I've been through in business, pretty quick, it's just business. It's not personal, which that's number one. But we can't win in Minnesota. Obviously, Minnesota is thought of, well, you're going to tell me. I mean, we're thought of as being a very liberal state, correct, Carl?
Absolutely.
So, my thing is, I love the podcast. I love the audience. I love the creativity of the work. But I want to win. I'm politically active and organizing. So here's what I tell my audience, and this is going to help you. We're fighting for the soul of the Republican Party. What kind of party are we going to be? A silk stocking country club group of people that believe in globalism, or a bunch of American citizens that are concerned about the health and well-being of their neighbors? That's what we're dealing with. It's almost a binary choice. But actually, it's not binary. America is always going to be involved on the global stage because of who we are. It's how we're involved. Do we do it with sacred honor? Do we do it for the benefit of the American people? Or do we do it for the benefit of other Somalian people, for example, just to pick a hot topic? But I am saying to my audience, we are going to fight with everything we have to gain control of the Republican Party of Minnesota until the day after the primary. And then whoever is on the ballot with an R after their name, they will be marginally better than the socialist or communist that the Democrats are running. And we are going to unify and door knock. And if you come here after the primary, you might see me promoting people that don't like me and I don't like them. But that doesn't matter. What matters is strategies that bring about victory. And of course, what's happened here in Minnesota, Carl, is the constabulary of the traditionalists are throwing out people as fast as they come into the party. As soon as they make a person as a America Firster, MAGA, Trump supporter, I'm not even quite sure what we're going to call this movement 500 years from now. Maybe we'll just call it the Republic of the United States of America. I don't know. But as soon as they get a beat on somebody, they move to expel them. For example, we have a congressional district in CD, it's called CD7. We have a Republican representative there, Michelle Fishbach. She and her minions dominate that region. And an America Firster got elected as the chairman of the executive committee, and they're going to remove him. I know the guy. He's not even that intense. He's a pretty center-of-the-road guy. But you know what? Not for them. So I'm going to just say I love them because I need them. But I'm going to take it a step farther. I'd love to have Democrats come over to the Republican side. We're in the evangelical business of spreading republicanism. If I hate them, they're not going to listen to me. That's why we do the podcast. We're holding the principle, and we're trying to broaden the number of, because, politics is a numbers game. We want more people involved. We want a big tent party, and then we're going to vote for the future of the party within the party. If the citizens would actually join the party, it'd be over real quick. Does that clarify? Is that a direct answer to your question?
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. When the primaries are over, you have to get behind the Republican candidate. But then it's up to us as voters, stewards of America, to hold these Republicans accountable to what they promised, right? And part of the problem I see in the Republican Party, and you see it now, is Republicans. A lot of these rhinos are just weak and they just cave. It's almost like they don't care. After they get your vote, they don't care anymore. You see, the problem is people have very short attention spans, unfortunately. Not people like you and me, we're engaged all the time, right, in politics. But your average low propensity voter, and they're the voters we need, right? Your low propensity voter, the people that came out in 2024 for Donald Trump, right? We need those people, and we need them to come out and vote. And what I see happening right now, right? And I don't want to get off topic with Minnesota and everything, but just you see no accountability happen, right? Um, whether it be the Epstein files, whether it be Brennan, uh, James Comey, right? You're not seeing accountability, and you're seeing Jim Jordan, for instance, um, slow walk everything, not wanting to bring Jeb Boasberg in front of the Judiciary Committee. And that's deflating the people we need to get out in the midterms. And I feel like that's the game that these Republicans play, because I feel like the Republicans really don't want to be in control. I feel like they don't like being in control, right? For instance, I think we should nuke the filibuster, but they won't. Why won't they do it? Well, because when they nuke the filibuster, they actually have to be held accountable for implementing the Trump agenda, election integrity, all types of things like that. And they don't want to. They don't want to. So that's where my disdain for the rhinos come in. But I get your point 100%. Is a rhino far better than a Democrat communist? Absolutely. I look at it as the Democrats want to take us to hell on a speed train, and the Republicans, the rhinos, want to take us there on a steam locomotive, right? So I'd rather be cruising on that steam locomotive and be able to stop it than on the high speed rail that the Democrats want to take us on.
I think your comments are thoughtful. My I mean, I'm in the trench. I'm actually politically engaged, like, maximally, and
Yep.
so that gives me the view. I mean, we have here on the podcast, the Professor Penn podcast, we have quite a few elected representatives that come in, some of whom are really disliked by the American citizens movement, so to speak, because they're viewed to be sellouts, or establishment figures. And I have them on here, and that's a testament to I want to win. And these people know what I believe, so when they come in, they're kind of sticking their thumb in somebody's eye, which I think is cool. But I look at it like this: uh, if let's say you're 45 years old and you become elected to the Minnesota legislature, which is not a lot of money, but it is money. I mean, it's not big time money, but a guy could actually sustain on it if his other people in his family worked. And now you're a political professional. And now you have a career in politics. Somebody has said to you, you're pretty good at this. You got a future in this if you just do what we tell you to do. And if you're not wealthy and you're not self-sustaining, and now your career is politics and media, and you're going on radio shows and TV shows, and maybe you got a bunch of followers on, different platforms. What's going to make these people come to be with us is the participation of citizens. Because these people, when they went into politics, they were just like us. I mean, even the rhinos well, not the recent rhinos, but recently, if somebody joins the party right now, I'll give you a perfect example. I've put hundreds of people in the Minnesota Republican Party, and oftentimes they get swept up in the apparatus because they like the social life, they like the social status, they get worked on, they make relationships, and I can't keep track of all these people. And if people are not strongly moored to a set of principles, it's easy to get pulled off path. But these people that you're talking about, the so-called rhinos, my theory of the case is, to use a Bannon phrase is, hey, guess what? If we put 20,000 new people into the party that were like you and me, because what they are is seeking a job. They're a job seeking. If we are the power and we show up, we can hold them accountable. If we don't show up, who they're accountable to are the forces that you and I are in opposition to. So I don't blame them. They are a reflection of us. If we don't, like you say, the low this is like morbidity and mortality. We want to reduce the number of low propensity voters at this time in American history because it's all hands on deck. So that's why you're doing what you're doing. You're an educator. I'm doing what I'm doing. We've come together to get more people into the political process so that these professionals fear us instead of the liberal white women in their districts. Because right now, once they're elected here in Minnesota, who they really cater to and chase after is the liberal white women in their district. They don't want them to organize to get rid of them. And that's just the way it is. And of course, if you get to the outstate area, that's not the way it is because there's a lot less liberal white women in those districts. But when you get into like where I live, CD3, the western suburbs of Minneapolis-St. Paul, Congressional District 3, this is was red, became purple, now it's blue, highly educated people, a lot of liberalism here. And then these elected representatives chase that ideology because they want to stay in power. They want to get reelected. Am I making that understandable?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you agree
100%.
with me? Does that make sense?
I do. The one thing I agree with is the universities is the destruction of the United States, our youth. Just what you said, all these highly educated people, they get indoctrinated in our colleges. And I don't know how we allowed that to happen. I see it here. I live in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and there's universities everywhere, right? And all these people are liberals. They hate America. I don't understand it.
Well, can I
Maybe
help?
it's just-
Can I shed a little light on it for you?
Sure, absolutely.
Because I do understand it. By the way, Allentown, Pennsylvania, you get a kick out of this. Haverford College class of 1980. I lived in Ardmore in 76, 77, 78. Did you grow up in Pennsylvania? You've been there your whole life?
Yeah, my whole life.
I
yeah.
was in Philadelphia. Listen to this now. When Dr. J was playing on the 76ers and the Broadway Bullies were playing for the Flyers, and man, I'm going to tell you, I spent more time watching sports than I did doing my homework. But in fact, I got to tell you, I went there. Dr. J had such a big effect on me that I decided when I was about 18 years old, I was going to figure out how to dunk a basketball. I mean, I just had to do it because, come on.
Yeah, right.
If he can do it, so can I. Anyhow, how did this happen? You have this is something we've talked about. Tanner's here. Good morning, Tanner.
Good morning.
You can chime in anytime, young man.
Yeah.
How old is Tanner? You mind if I ask?
Tanner?
25.
25.
25. What? Can I ask Tanner a question real quick? You mind?
Go.
I don't want to stop you.
You can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Tanner,
cool.
how do you feel about the affordability issue right now that in this country?
Oh, it's pretty bad. I don't know. I guess I tried my best to be optimistic. I feel like I'm in the right hands working for David, honestly. But I look around to my peers and I understand, like, holy crap, I might not be able to own a house. So that is a real fear of mine. Yeah, I would say I don't feel like I have enough to save, essentially. I feel like I'm living better than paycheck to paycheck, but the paycheck to paycheck grind is still there.
Carl, let me just use this as a segue because he gave me such props. He feels like he's in my good hands with me. That's because he knows I'm not a robber baron. Republicans believe in the common good. And, like it's the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That's where that comes from, the Commonwealth, the common good. So we have a company here. It's called Free People Radio. And Free People Radio is funded and is still in the red. It's a big operation. We're in the red, and we've got the store. So look at this one. You see this one? Can you see this?
I love it.
Now, the story on this is I was at a meeting. This is the Just Right T-shirt, which any of you, and Carl's audience is going to hear this too, and we want our audience to find Carl on Rumble. That's Tuesday through Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central. Carl's got and when you go on Rumble, let me tell you, see all those guitars hanging behind Carl? Carl's like me. He's an ex. Well, he's probably still playing, but we're
not as much as I used to.
Can I tell you something that happened? This weekend, I sat down. I'm so busy with politics. Because it's Christmas time, I sat down on the piano and I started writing a song for the first time in several years. And I was in fantastic voice. I actually thought I should record that and play it here.
Well, what are you waiting for, man?
The name of the song is Let My People Go. It's not a new idea. It's an old idea.
Sure.
But I was playing, it was cool. But, we fund Free People Radio. You go to the freepeopleradio.com /store. And you're going to love this. I was at an event with Royce. And he's just riffing along because, Royce never, unlike most politicians that have a canned speech, I've never heard Royce say the same thing twice. Or if he says the same thing twice, he says it differently every time. And he's riffing and he goes, I'm not far right, I'm just right. I said, that's gold. And I trademarked it the next day. And we want everybody for Christmas to go buy 20 or 30 of these T-shirts and pass them out. It's a little bit of a uniform we could make work here in Minnesota. And then Carl, Tanner, he knows that if the studio starts making money, he's going to get a piece of the action. He knows that because that's the way I roll here. But we're, kind of old timers. We eat what we kill. That's how we run our business here. And so we're trying to get this thing going, which I want everybody to know Carl has joined me as a Tire Get influencer. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yes. Carl is now, and Tanner is going to be your source. Every quarter, we're going to send you ads that you can, edit into your podcast. We're going to send you live reads, banners, and we're going to, Carl is an influencer.
Now we get to work together, Carl.
We're going to work. He's dependent on you to send him the stuff.
Yeah,
he's on
Tanner,
the
what are you
list.
waiting for, man? No, I'm just kidding.
So we got the Tire Get Together, which I want everybody to know. It's winter time. I was slipping and a slide and hurried into the studio this morning. So if you need new tires for this winter, you go to tireget.com. That's TIREGET.com. It's everything you need in tires at the right price. And guess what? Carl, when you need tires, we're going to put them on right by your house. For $25, we dismount your old tire, mount your new tire, new valve stems, a balance, and disposal of your old tires. $25 a wheel. If you call around in Allentown, I bet they're charging $40 or $50 a wheel for that. So everything is right about this deal. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, no, and what I love about it, David, is you're supporting the patriot economy. You're supporting like-minded Americans that have the same objective, right? That whenever I partner up with a company, because integrity is important to me, right? And supporting the movement is important. And when you buy tires at TireGet, you're supporting the America First agenda, right? You're supporting candidates like Royce White, right? And they don't want Royce White. The rhinos don't want Royce White. Why? Because he speaks his mind and he can't be controlled. And when you buy tires through TireGet, that's what you're getting. America First and just right.
That's exactly correct. And I'm going to tell you why I like candidates that are unvarnished. Because we got a Congress full of people that wear white starch shirts. They got blue suits on, red, white, and blue ties. They got the American flag lapel pin. They graduated from university. They got a law degree, maybe at Yale, maybe at the University of Pennsylvania. They're married to their high school sweetheart. They got 3 kids. They even served in the military. And we got $38 trillion of debt. We've been at war my entire life. So, I've had enough of these folks. They've had their run. I used to think myself, you can't let the inmates run the asylum. But then I reached the conclusion, unless the doctors are mass murdering, you can edit
I
this
got
out.
you.
Cats. If they're mass murdering fuckheads, we're going to have to replace them with regular people. And I'm a regular people, and I'm building my political career here in Minnesota. I don't have any electoral ambitions at this point. But people that are like in Allentown, you're looking for candidates, I hope, or looking to build people up.
Absolutely.
In fact, we talked about a guy in Texas. Where's that guy at these days?
Yes. Actually, I'm going to have him on hopefully this Saturday night. Alexander Duncan, America First to the core, running for U.S. Senate. Now it's a crowded field. But Alex is very pro-Christian. He's pro-America. He's pro-small business. And he's just a great American. He's a previous police officer from L.A. of all places, right? He was a previous police officer in California, in L.A., and moved to Texas because he couldn't take it in L.A. and decided that he had enough. He had enough of the Muslims coming into Texas and trying to take over. And that's not a slam against the religion. It's just they're trying to change the demographics, and they're starting it. And this is the thing people have to realize, that when these people come in, the Muslims, and you see it with the Somalians in Minnesota there, they start running for office, and they start running for office for the school board, right? And then they go from the school board. Next thing you know, it's local congressman, senator, and they just continue to work their way up. And before you know it, like in Paterson, New Jersey, you have people calling for Sharia law, right? That's what they want in Paterson, New Jersey. You have the mayor there in Paterson, New Jersey. I can throw a stone at it pretty much from Allentown, Pennsylvania. It's about 45 minutes away from my house. You have them calling for Sharia law and saying that that they are a Palestinian state, right? And we're surrendering our country. And Alexander Duncan kind of realized this, right? He's got a young family. He wants them to have the American dream, and he doesn't want to surrender his country to foreign invaders. And I'm sorry, that's what they are. They're foreign invaders that have come in here, and they want to conquer our country. They want to conquer our country and turn us into England, France, and Ireland.
This kind of goes into the presentation I want to share with you about what happened to our universities. I want to circle back to that because it kind of explains this willingness that our country has to admit people that are not embracing republicanism. And why I say republicanism is not the Republican Party. I mean the philosophy of the Republic of the United States of America. And I say this frequently. In our Constitution, every state is guaranteed a Republican form of government. And since I hope many of your viewers and listeners will watch this with us, I just want to review that I'm trying to promote republicanism as a philosophy, and that means that every citizen is sovereign. It means that we love our neighbors as we wish to be loved as Republicans. In other words, we protect minority rights. Republicans involve themselves in civic life, and Republicans believe in the common good. Those are the hallmarks of understanding whether or not you're a Republican or not. I mean, in philosophy, you might vote Republican, but if you're not involved in civic life, you really haven't fully embraced the Republican lifestyle. And what I want to do is I want to change the culture of my state. I don't say the country, Carl, because I can't affect Pennsylvania. But my area where I live and work, we've got every Thursday night, we got a massive Zoom call called Minnesota Speaks that's run by a couple friends of mine, and they give me a lot of play in there, which I appreciate. Lieutenant Aldo and Minnesota Lady, they're fantastic. Everybody, and if you're in Pennsylvania or all over the country listening to Carl and you'd like to see how we organize a state, Minnesota Speaks is on every Thursday night at 7 p.m. on X. It's a space. It's an X Spaces. Carl, you could check it out. Of course, you're broadcasting, so you can't. But, sometime, you could listen to it. It's recorded, and it'll circulate around. And, we have this X space, and I think we can get 10,000 people in there if we keep working at it. And then I've started a peer-to-peer engagement at this Wayzata Central Middle School once a month, the first one being next Wednesday at 7 p.m. So I'm interested in organizing my state against people that are here of all stripes and religions and creeds that have not embraced republicanism. So this goes back to the universities. What happened? Because if you go back historically, even to the 1960s and then back up to the formation of these universities, they were bastions of conservatism. If you take a look at the mottos of these East Coast, in Carl's backyard, Harvard, Yale, these were started as Christian educational institutions. The Yale Divinity School is the Yale Divinity School, but I'm not sure they teach people about believing in God, how to believe in God. I think they study it now as an anthropological artifact, religion.
I bet you that transition happened in the 1960s?
No, it actually happened at the end of World War II because we had a massive mobilization, the biggest in American history, and we had Democrats in power. We had 15 years of President Roosevelt. That was the New Deal because we had this tremendous income disparity that had developed so that, there was a rehashing of trying to spread the common good. Because remember, if you thwart evolution, political evolution, like they're doing in the Republican Party, when you thwart that, you guarantee yourself a revolution. Because you can't keep people in the dirt like this. Like you're asking Tanner about affordability. Tanner's got hope. He's got a lot of people in his generation are hopeless. Is that a true statement, Tanner?
Yeah, it's true. But I did want to add a little bit more to that. It's hard for me to comment on the financial because David knows me well. I hate money. It's not a driving factor for me. To me, it's like a secondary luxury tool. What I see in my community and what I get really worried about is a lack of community. There's, especially in my age group, there's just no sense of community, no sense of knowing your neighbors. And I feel like that is the fundamental building block that you need to have before you can have a good economy. So to me, yeah, financial's rough, but that's not my worry.
Can I say something to you, young man?
Yeah.
Carl, I'm surrounded by people that hate money. Let's move out. We need to move this judge. I released the judgment that I love money and I hate money. Money is a means of representing your energy.
Yeah, it's a tool, and I understand that. I appreciate it as a tool.
It represents your energy. If you have energy that people want to be involved with, you're going to get money.
Yeah.
So please don't hate yourself. Because I got this, Royce, who works here at Free People Radio, he's unconcerned with money. And I have to tell you, I have been unconcerned with it, and I'm going to go broke if I don't get concerned with it. And I have a lifetime of being a good, successful business person, so we're going to make this thing work. So we don't want to hate money. We don't want to hate anything.
I think I hate the current state of money. It's how it works right now. I don't like it.
What part of it don't you like, young man?
Again, it's more like a culture thing, I guess. I don't like that it's become a master. It's not a tool. It's not like a resource like it really is. The reality of it, it's a resource. It's a master now.
He's going all religious on us now.
You see, it's a store of value of your work, right, Tanner? You got to look at it as that way. You're putting forth good work, right? You're working for Professor Penn here, for David, And he values your work so much that he's rewarding you, right? He's exchanging monetary value, right, for your energy and your value of work, right? So all it is the money is just a store of your value of your work, right? You
Yeah.
got to look at it that way. You can't look at it as something that's evil and corrupt, right? It
I
corrupts
think
people
I
and it
look at
turns
it that
people evil, but you're not
yeah.
an evil person. I can tell. You actually care about your country. You care about your fellow citizens, right? So the more value that you create in your work, the more good you can do with that money.
Yeah, and that's
Look at it
beautiful
that way.
that, like, I'm surrounded by people that see it that way. I'm happy that I live of somewhat morals of not using it for bad things, but I still live in a society where there's people with 0 talent just getting all the money in the world. So that's more so what I mean. It's a system that even though I'm approaching it with good faith, the system is not of good faith, if that makes sense.
Well,
Does
no,
that
that's
make
because
sense?
we've fallen away. This again, I take this as a Republican in the party. We've fallen away from the idea of the common good.
Yeah.
We've allowed corporate interests to capture our party. And let's not blame the politicians or the corporate interests. It's the people. If the
Mhm.
people showed up in mass, nationally, like there's 200,000 open billets in the Republican Party nationally. And if 200,000 citizens showed up and filled those spots and took the party to the common good, this would be fixed in a couple election cycles. But as long as people stay home, can't do nothing about it, I give up, I'm just going to take care of my own thing. Nothing it's too big, can't deal with. As long as people hold those judgments. And then, of course, what the party does, the party acts ugly on purpose to disincentivize good people from joining because who wants
Mhm.
to hang around with crappy people? That's no fun. So, as long as we give into this and let them run roughshod over us, that's not on them. That's on us. Hey, if you're listening to me and you're in my podcast audience, I'm not big on complaining. I'm big on action, and I'm showing you what action's all about. So we all got to do it. I'm not special. Every single citizen has the God-given right in this republic to pursue their life and their liberty and their happiness. And when people come take that away from you, your freedom and your happiness, we have a constitutional system which allows you to get involved and wrest it back from the people who don't care about you. There's no complaining. There's only doing. But I want to go back to this university thing because I think this is really cool that you asked that question. How did this happen? And I've been involved with this, my whole life. And I'm going to tell you, after World War II, the Democrat Congress, with support from the Republicans, because we've had a uniparty for a very long time, passed something called the GI Bill.
Mhm.
And that allowed veterans of World War II to go in. Now, I haven't looked at this, so if I'm getting this wrong, somebody can correct me because I haven't looked at this for a long time. But I think it was after World War II. And I think that allowed veterans to go and get educated at the expense and paid for by the taxpayer because they had, risked their lives. And we lost almost 500,000 people in World War II. And there was a collective belief that the sacrifices that had been made by your grandfather or maybe your great grandfather, I don't know how long ago, but I had people, direct relatives of mine that were in World War II. And I remember when they, talked about it. They're dead for a long time, but they told me what happened to them. Here comes winter. In winter, good tires aren't a luxury, they're a necessity for safety. At TireGet.com, getting your winter tires is quick, easy, and priced right. With TireGet.com, you order online, install right by your house, and stay safe on the road this winter season. And this allowed everyday people from the inner cities, which were not black at that time, they were working class neighborhoods.
Italian,
To
Irish. Yeah.
Yeah, they could go to the university for the first time, but they came out of the inner city. And guess what was going on in the inner city? Poverty, ill health, exploitation, And how do these people view this? Well, when things are not fair, communism, socialism is a mechanism for taking down power structures. And we, the people, paid to take low income Americans who had a chip on their shoulder about the split. The split wasn't fair. And now we educate them. And they go and they get their 4-year degree. And some of them got their PhDs and they started entering the university systems as professors. And there was a hell of a battle. The conservatives that controlled all these universities tried to deny these radical young people jobs in the universities using what we call the tenure track system. They get their degree, they teach as assistant professors, and then they'd apply to go get a tenured position, and they go, hey, sorry, we don't want your kind here. Because guess what? The universities were dominated by what we would call white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. They just were. That's the way it was. And then we had a tremendous event that happened. It was called the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War, which radicalized the youth of this country in an anti-war movement. It was kind of a rejection of the militarism. And who did those young people see as being the problem? Those very white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. That's correct. And they now stormed the universities. And there was a foothold of people in the universities, like my father, who had gotten in there. And there was a lot of European intellectuals. Oh, here's another part of the puzzle. Guess what happened? We had a Nazi problem and a communist problem over in Europe. And guess who ran the hell over here to get out? Lots of Jewish intellectuals. Lots of them. Tens of thousands of them. And, a lot of them were science people. Physicists, chemists, material science people. And guess what happened? They got jobs making atomic bombs. The Manhattan Project, they were important to the war effort. And you know what they said? They said, I'm not coming unless I get a job working at Harvard. And they said, wow, you're a physicist. No problem. You got to go work out in the desert and make a bomb. Will you do that for? Sure. But after that's over, I want to have a job at Haverford College or University of Pennsylvania. And you know what they said? They said, now that we got this figured out, I got the money laid out for myself. I'm going to go work for the government. I'm going to get a job working at the university. But you know what, Tanner? You're my U.S. government contact. I got 3 buddies. One guy's an anthropologist, another guy's a psychologist, and the third guy is a sociologist. And you looked at me and said, what has this got to do with the war effort? And I said to you, hey, I'm only going to come work with you if you take my 3 buddies. And those 3 buddies were all communists. And we put these people in the universities, and it was a little foothold. But you know what's interesting about school? You're always proliferating followers. It's just like podcasting. And they built this movement of leftists in the schools. And in the 60s, at least here in Minnesota, because I was in the room in 1969, when, let's see, it was 2 Christians, and everybody else in the room was a Jewish intellectual. And they made a plan to turn the University of Minnesota leftist using the tenure system. And they knew that if they got control of the University of Minnesota, because it's so important, because it turns out all the kindergarten teachers will get the university system leftist. Because what were they fighting? They're fighting the same thing we're fighting. They were fighting the military-industrial complex and the worldwide expansion of American power, the forever war that was at the detriment of the American citizens. They were fighting the same thing I'm fighting, the same thing you're fighting. And guess what that system did? My father, in 1962, made about $3,000 a year working for the University of Minnesota. All they did is they poured money. I'm talking about the feds, poured money into all these universities. I'm talking about trillions. And they put all these dudes on the payroll. And instead of making $5,000 a year, you go downstream 30 years, they're making $200,000 a year, working 9 months out of the year, 3 months off, sabbaticals. You got to be in the office 6 hours a week. they put these people on the payroll.
Hmm.
They're on the payroll because the powers that be don't care if it's communist or capitalist. They don't care about that. That's just a way to divide the people into warring tribes so we never organize to provide for the common good. That's my overview of what's happened in our university system.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Divide and conquer, right? That's their goal. They pit us with racism against each other. They create uh, class envy. We see it all the time.
The
And
class thing really didn't work, Carl. They tried that in the 60s. They tried it from the 30s and the 40s. McCarthy kind of beat it down a little bit. Then the left prevailed. So they went into what you're talking about, the identity politics, because there was so much opportunity. The difference between me at 25 and you at 25 is I thought I could make as much money as I wanted. It was just an idea of work. Now, your generation, there's no jobs.
It's
There's
just
no upward.
rigged.
Pardon me?
It just feels rigged.
It is rigged.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in 1975 when I, started working. It wasn't rigged. It was rigged, but it wasn't rigged like this.
Yeah.
So they failed to do the class warfare thing because people, if they worked hard, could get rich. So they went after the identity politics. They weaponized the Jewish identity, which has been used to justify global government, so we never have another Holocaust. The black identity, which they weaponized to justify an ever-expanding government in the United States to protect against racism and discrimination. They weaponized the woman's identity because women had been property, and they weaponized the feminist identity, which then gave birth to the LGBTQ+. And now they've actually weaponized the Christian identity.
Yeah.
Yes, they have, and that would be called Christians United for Israel. They've weaponized the Christian identity. But now, guess what? Now that the economics is so screwed up, we're back to basic class warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Everything comes full circle. So this thing in the universities, if we really wanted to fix the country, and Trump's done it, and you've seen it, he went after those universities right in your backyard, trying to bring them to heel. And every state legislature could do this, because it doesn't matter what the state is. If there's a state university there, or a land-grant institution, about a third to the half of the budget comes from the state. But here in Minnesota, crickets. Because, see, everybody loves the Gophers. Everybody loves the Gophers, right? No, so this is where you get into that rhino cowardly thing. They don't want to take a shot at this, and they hate me because I say it. Hit them in the pocketbook, cut their budgets, right? That's what Trump's doing. That's how he is interrupting the left. He's cutting the cash off. Do I have this right, Carl? Do you see the same thing?
100%. 100%. You've got to, and I say this all the time. You've got to corrupt people and Democrats, even rhinos. They pay attention to a few things. One is loss of power, and the other one is loss of wealth. Right? Once you start attacking their wealth, well, then they start to pay attention. Right? And that's how you affect change. And like you said, exactly what President Trump's doing to the.
When you say wealth, do you mean their personal wealth?
Personal wealth? Yes, absolutely. Personal. Well, okay, yes, personal wealth.
Because if they don't get elected, they're off the grift, aren't they?
Yes.
The only way they can stay on the grift is if they get elected.
For instance,
go ahead.
Elon Omar, right in your backyard.
Minnesota, here we come.
Right in your backyard. What was this woman's net worth when she went into office? I think it was like $300,000.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. What is it now? 38 million, somewhere around there? How is that possible?
It's actually mind-numbing. I mean,
your average person, and Tanner, you got to be sitting there going, what the heck? Why am I not a crooked politician, right? Well, because you're not evil, Tanner. That's why. But you got to be sitting there. AOC is another perfect example. She was crying about not being able to afford a two residents one in New York and one in DC, right? When she got elected to Congress. Now she's worth millions. She lives in the most expensive building in DC, rooftop bar, state-of-the-art gym, bar, all the amenities. Once you start attacking these people's wealth and taking away, well, we can get into lobbying, but lobbyists in DC should be gone. They should be gone. You shouldn't be allowed to lobby our politicians. Sorry. But how do they accumulate this wealth? Corruption has to be. I mean, what I want to know is it's coming out that Elon Omar has all these connections with all these people that are involved in this fraud in Minnesota, right? The what is it? HSS fraud.
Health and
Through
Human Services fraud
yes,
you're talking about? Yes, sir.
yes. Is anybody going to look into? Did she get donations from these people to her campaign? And
You
if she
know,
did, is she going to give the money back? No.
the fraud thing here in Minnesota is so pervasive. And you talk about donations. You know, it could be beyond donations. I don't know. I'm not an investigator. But what I'd like to see happen is a real extensive investigation all the way down to the bottom of the pit. Because when you start talking about billions of dollars going AWOL, billions, that doesn't really sound like fraud. It sounds like foreign policy. And what
Yeah.
I want to understand is Ilhan Omar running her own foreign policy? Because this money allegedly, I don't have any 8 by
Al-Shabaab.
10 glasses, and she was just on the Face the Nation on CBS over the weekend saying there's no evidence of this. But the word around the campfire is this money is funding the ongoing
Al-Shabaab.
strife
Yeah.
in the Horn of Africa,
Yeah.
where there's a real war there. And I've been spending a lot of time trying to understand this. But the money could, and there is remittances. For sure there's remittances. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not following the money trail, but the questions I'm asking myself is this some kind of backdoor deal where the CIA, it's like a drug running deal? I mean, are they funding the very people that we're bombing? There's been 100 sorties this year from AFRICON, our African military establishment has bombed Somalia about 100 times in 2025. And they're bombing ISIS and El-Shabaab. Are we funding them at the same time? I mean, I don't know. When I say we, the taxpayers of Minnesota certainly are.
Isn't
Seems
that
like.
what we did in Israel and Gaza? Who funded both sides of the war? We have aid going into Gaza, while we have money going into Israel. We always find ourselves funding both sides of the battle.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, though, if you think about it from a military perspective in terms of resource allocation. There's no money in peace for the military.
No.
If the world broke out in peace tomorrow, peace everywhere, peace all the time, we're going to beat our swords into plowshares. That's Tanner, you probably don't know this. We didn't have a permanent military establishment until World War II. Every time we fought a war from the Revolutionary War up until World War II, when the war was over, everybody went home, the military budgets got cut tremendously, and everybody went back to farming. It's only since World War II that we've maintained a permanent, ongoing military industrial complex, which in fact we played President Eisenhower warning us about that just before he was done with his term in 1961, his last address before President Kennedy took over. But this funding of both sides, and let's say it's either de facto or de jure, it doesn't, at a certain level, it doesn't matter if it's organized. Because if that money is going to Somalia, either directly to El-Shabaab or through family members, tribal members, and it's funding that effort there, it really is justifying our continued involvement in the Horn of Africa. So we're bombing the hell out of these people. And the money's coming right from the Minnesota taxpayers? Doesn't that sound a little strange to you?
It does. And to be honest, the Minnesota taxpayer should be outraged. You should be outraged that your hard earned money is being stolen from you. It's being stolen from you. And it's being sent overseas uh, to fund a movement. Al Shabaab. What is it? It's Al Qaeda. It's radical Muslims that hate American values, right? You're funding the enemy. Your tax dollars in Minnesota are funding everything you stand against. And Governor Tim Walz, he was warned about it. He was warned about it multiple times, right? And he basically told the people that were warning him, shut down, sit up, or sit down, shut up, and go away. And allowed it to continue. And now you got to ask yourself, as somebody from Minnesota, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit there and say, you know what? There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to go on with my life and continue to just work my 9 to 5 job and be glad I get some breadcrumbs, right? No, you need to stand up for your state, join Professor Penn, and take your state back. Start running for local offices. Flush these people out. You are the stewards of your state. You are the watchmen of these politicians. And I agree with you, Professor. We have grown so used to corruption and so used to just allowing these things and politicians not delivering on their promises that we just shrug our shoulders at it and just move on. It's not the way it's meant to be. It's not the way it ever should have been. We allowed this to fester and continue. And now it's time for people with courage and charisma and purpose to take our country and our states back. And we got to take them back state by state, just like you're doing. So if you're in Minnesota, reach out to Professor Penn. Email him. Get engaged in taking your state back. Get engaged in local politics. Run for city council. It starts there because I'm telling you, these radical Muslims and Marxists, that's exactly what they're doing. They're getting money from CARE and all kinds of radical organizations to come in and change the demographics of your state and weaponize it against you, steal your money, and fund groups that hate you. And it's just time for people to wake up. And I think we're beginning to see that. I really do. I think we're beginning to see the awakening.
Carl, let me ask Tanner, as your peer group, do you even talk about this fraud at all? Is it a subject?
I talk with my my close friends who are pretty much on the same page, but I'd say as like my cohort, no. Everybody's still stuck on like blue and red issues, what the news is talking about.
Yeah, I have to say, Carl, I don't get pissed off about it, like maybe because I'm so engaged. But around the campfire at my home, I'm going to tell you, I got family members that are enraged that the money's being stolen because we're paying such high taxes here anyhow. But you bring up a very interesting question for me, which you asked me when I appeared on your show, but I didn't get the other side of it. I don't know that much about your history, and I'm wondering what was the path that brought you, because we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And we
What was
both
the
were
path?
musicians.
Yep.
And so we both like creativity, obviously. So there's a creative impulse to doing this. But how is it, with all the choices that you had, that you got involved politically podcasting? I mean, what was the path? What was the trigger for you?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been a lifelong, since I've been 15 years old, listener of Rush Limbaugh, right? So I've been I always say I graduated the EIB Institute, right? I've owned a small business, started working when I was 15, through school, doing hardwood floors with my wife's grandfather. Became an independent contractor, started a business, and I realized that you work your whole life, you bust your butt, and every April 15th, the government flips you over and shakes every penny out of your pocket. Right, every penny out of your pocket, and for what? Right, in Pennsylvania here we have a 50-cent gas tax. What do I get for that? Right, my property taxes. What do I get for that? I can tell you what I get. I get absolutely nothing. I get screwed, right? And I've watched my children grow up in um, in a world, as Tanner was saying, where the American dream slipped away. We've allowed the American dream to be stolen from our youth. That spark, like me and you had, David, where I can do anything I want as long as I'm willing to put the work in. We've allowed that to be stolen. It's not the government's fault. It's our fault. We're the gatekeepers of freedom in this country. And we fell asleep because we've become complacent with the breadcrumbs that our government gives us, right? Allows us to keep. And I've watched too many people die in endless wars to try to preserve the freedom we have here. And I just couldn't stand by and just allow it to slip away. I felt like I needed to get engaged. I felt like I needed to do something. I knock on doors for my local politicians. I get engaged. Um, and I found the Republican Party, David, it is I don't know how they are in Minnesota with you, but they want nothing to do with somebody like me because I want people that tell the truth. And I'm not going to sit back and just allow a politician just to lie to me and tell me to get lost now that I've knocked on doors for them and well, I want nothing to do with you. You're radical because you want me to keep my promises that I made, right? So I took all that frustration and I put it into a podcast, right? Because I want to save my country, and I believe that we can save our country. I believe that it's people like me and you that wake people up, right? We encourage people to get on that dance floor and get into and start to dance. I mean, you've got Royce White, an amazing candidate, connects with the people. Why? Because he speaks the truth. And there's none of that political round speak. The politicians that say something but they really say nothing.
They're good at it.
Yeah, it's frustrating to me. Right? So Republican Party in Pennsylvania and Allentown, they want nothing to do with me. Why? Well, because I like politicians like Governor Mastriano, right? Or I'm sorry, Senator Mastriano.
You'd like him to be governor.
I'd like him to be governor, and he's going to be governor, right? You know why he's going to be governor? Because the GOP in Pennsylvania already rigged it against him with Stacey Garrity, and I have nothing against Stacey Garrity. I'm sure she's a lovely woman, right? But I looked at what Mastriano did during COVID. He was the only senator that stood up and fought for us during COVID. And that's what you need, right? Those are the people you need to get behind. And I encourage everybody out there, start a podcast. Start it. Motivate people. Put your frustration to good use, right? Because when we all merge together, we become an army, right? An army of change. an army of positive change, taking our country back, flushing out the corruption. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it, that the system's too big. That's what they want you to think. You can do it. You can do it. I still believe in this country. I still believe that America is the greatest country in the world. And the American people are the greatest people in the world. That we can affect change. You know, whenever there's a tragedy around the world, even if it's our enemy, America's the first country there helping out. Right? The American people are good people. We're good, hardworking, grit people. And we can get this job done. We can take our country back and restore the American dream to our children. And it starts in the inner city, by the way. I firmly 100% believe that.
We've talked about that. And when you talk to, and here on our podcast, we have people from what one of our local Bright Lights Representative Walter Hudson calls emerging constituencies. I like to credit him for that. Just like the Patriot economy, you learned that from John.
Yeah.
That's my idea, Patriot economy.
I love
You can
it.
ask John about that. You just can't copyright. It's not like writing a song in politics. As soon as you come up with an idea, it's in the public domain.
He borrowed it from you. How's that?
No, it's his to have. I mean, what we want to do, what you're saying is exactly correct. You know, you can buy tires from anybody. Why go buy them from somebody who is not dedicated to, you know, making your community better? You know, all the different sponsors that are on Killercarl's podcast, he's vetted them and he knows who owns them. I mean, they're people that he wants to support, but more importantly, they want to support him because Carl's got money, expense in running his media efforts. And, he's entitled to make a little bit of money at it or a lot. I mean, when I look at your numbers on Rumble, it's somewhat staggering to me. It's like, wow. And, that's quite an endorsement of what you're doing.
You know what, Professor Penn, it's almost takes me aback a little bit because to think that, me, Carl, I'm nobody special. Just like you said, we're nobody special. I have my podcast. I have a Saturday morning radio show. And I would have never thought that that I would have any of this. And you know why I have it? Because I did it. And everybody out there listening, you can have the same thing. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't have the American dream or you can't do what you want or you're not worthy of it.
What year did you start podcasting?
Maybe 3 years ago.
Like you just woke up after the 2020 election and said, me too. Isn't that incredible that was such a clarifying event for some of us?
I think it was clarifying for a lot of people. And I think that's where you began to see the Great Awakening. I think that's where you began to see people. And Professor Penn, I'm sure you've heard this. Oh, I don't vote. Elections don't really matter. It's all a corrupt system. It doesn't affect my life. I got my McMansion and my corporate job, and my family. And one day they woke up and they realized, well, that the government can shut your business down. The government can lock you in your house and the government can force you to get a vaccine that you don't want in order to go back to work. And that's the light switch, I think, that started to wake people up. You see, I always say this. Americans have what I call a freedom gene ingrained in our DNA, right? That's why they want to replace us with mass immigration, right? Because we have that freedom ingrained in our DNA. It's born in us. It runs through our blood like nobody else. And we'll tolerate a little bit of an oppressive government, but at some point that gene wakes up and kicks in, and the American people are ready to fight for their freedom again, ready to take it back, right? And I believe that 100%. And I believe that's why you have these globalists and the communists That's why they want to flood our country with illegal invaders. Because they want to replace that freedom gene ingrained in our DNA. Right? They want to be able to control you. And they know at some point the American people are not going to take it. We're not going to be controlled. We're going to rise up peacefully, and take our country back and get engaged in politics and run for local office. And I think that's exactly what 2020 did. You know, we all sat back and we watched the election be stolen. Yes, it was stolen, 100%. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was the machines or whatever, but what I can tell you is that in Pennsylvania, when Governor Tom Wolf decided he was going to change election law unconstitutionally in the middle of the night to rig the election to benefit the Democrats, that's stealing an election. When my House of Representatives and the Pennsylvania Senate, by the way, that was ran by Republicans, we controlled the House, sat there and did nothing. Brian Cutler couldn't leave his house because he had Pennsylvanians protesting for him to call a special session, and he refused to. Senator Mastriano was the only one out there screaming. They did nothing. You know why they did nothing? Because they didn't want to do anything. They didn't want to do anything. They knew that if they waited to do anything till after the election was certified, that the Supreme Court wouldn't do a thing because they don't want to get involved, right? And that's what woke up people. Those key things, they overplayed their hands. And the great Rush Limbaugh always said the Democrats will always overplay their hands. They'll always overplay it, and the American people will wake up. And we have. We're still waking up, but I believe that you are seeing a great mass awakening of American people that are ready to take their country back.
TireGet.com, where convenience meets the road. Why make buying tires complicated? With TireGet.com, it's simple. TireGet.com, one site, a few clicks, and the tires of your choice are shipped to an installer right by your house. We'll learn a lot from the midterms here in Minnesota because the fraud is so pervasive. And, you know, from my perspective and what I talk about on X, are you on X, Carl?
I am.
Are you following me on X?
Of course I am. Come
Okay,
on.
so you see what I'm doing.
Yep.
Because, I mean, my statement is, you know, we're righteously indignant about these billions that went through the Somali community, possibly back to al-Shabaab. But, you know, we have United Healthcare, which is one of the big insurance providers that's 10 minutes from my office. It's a $400 billion company, and it's under investigation for what it's doing, the Justice Department. And at any level of it, any kind of insurance fraud around healthcare is an indictment of that system generally. And I don't know what the size of the fraud is, but if somebody said that $200 billion was overcharged with extra procedures, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked at all. We got parts of the bar, parts of the, you know, like the family courts that are just run as scams. I mean, they just are just so prejudicial against men, for example. Not to get into it, but it's an issue. We've got so many areas of corruption that go. How about farm subsidy? We're in an ag export state. Farm policy, you know, agricultural policy. Energy policy. We have an energy provider here, Xcel Energy. I love this story. It's the first major energy provider that decarbonized. It happened between 2011 and 2021. The guy's an alleged Republican. His wife is a member of the party. And they decarbonized, took $1 billion of subsidy, $1 billion with a B, broke the company even over 10 years, decarbonizing. And this guy paid himself $15 million a year. And the Public Utility Commission approved it, and that's overseen by the legislature and the governor. And if we're going to start paying $15 million a year to people that are serving the common good, in my opinion, we've lost our way. I'd be happy to do it for $400,000 a year. And they're going to say, what do you know about energy policy? Nothing, but if I sat down and read about it for a half a year, I'd know as much as these guys that were taking and they're still taking that kind of
You
money out.
probably know more.
Well, I'm just saying, it's like, I know business. I mean, $15 million to work for a monopoly? It's a monopoly.
Yeah.
That's why there's a Public Utilities Commission. It's there to serve the public. There's no competition. And you're going to pay yourself $15 million a year, Ben Folk? Come on. But you know, it's not his fault. He got it approved by the Public Utilities Commission, which is overseen by the legislature. And guess who elects the legislature? Minnesota citizens.
Yep.
I mean, so the question Royce asked, is there anything that the Democrats could do that would make you quit voting Democrat? I mean, this is how leftist the state is. What is the threshold that gets breached where you're not going to vote Democrat anymore? You're going to give the Republicans their chance to sit in the seat because it's been 20 years, right? So we have a very entrenched Democrat political machine. And then you said, well, Republicans really don't want to win. You said that because you're seeing that in Pennsylvania, set up very similar to Minnesota. In fact, the attorney generals of these states, these Democrat states, all cooperate to make lawfare common throughout the Democrat ecosystem. And you say, why do the Republicans not want to win? Hey, there's good eating losing. There's good eating. There's a house in the vineyards losing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And that's the thing I always tell everybody. Listen, the uniparty is real. I know people don't like to hear that, right? The uniparty is real. And I feel, unfortunately, sometimes you have Republicans that are just useless idiots, right? They don't want to win. They don't want to control power because then they're accountable to the people and they have to affect change. And when they affect change, what does it do? It takes money out of their pocket. Takes money out of them. They're not going to get that house in the vineyard.
Everybody can wear a MAGA hat when you're the minority party.
Yes.
When you win, Republicans. In fact, Stan Hamilton, who's the head honcho here in CD3, you know, we had a conversation. He's mad at me because I'm trying to hold Republicans accountable. I watch everything I can, what they do, what letters they sign, what bills they vote for. I mean, citizens are paying attention now. They don't like that. And he said, well, when we win the trifecta, when we're in power, I'll be the first one to criticize if anybody goes over the hill. Well, this is training right now. I mean, people go, well, why don't you support, for example, some of these Republican candidates for governor? Just pick on one, Kristen Robbins, who's maybe a nice person, maybe not, I don't know. But she worked for the Economic Club of Minnesota, which is a globalist organization. She worked for a CIA-funded think tank. I mean, you know, what are these local elections? Like you said, you start out school board, then you get elected to your state house, then maybe you get elected to the U.S. Congress. Yeah. So this coming up through the ranks, we got to vet these people out and eliminate them before they get entrenched and go to Washington. That's our job as citizens. And this is another thing. We believe that everything's about the federal. The federal doesn't matter. We can't control it. But your local school board, your local county commissioners, your local city council, man, we've got to take back our country where? In our neighborhood. Yep. That's what. Do you have a caucus system in Pennsylvania? What kind of system? Do you have a caucus system there?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a caucus system. Yes. Yes.
Are they? Is the Uni Party trying to bring that to an end in Pennsylvania?
No.
They are here in Minnesota because there's too many people.
It's funny.
There's too many people like me creeping into the system.
Into the caucus system, yeah. But they just keep people out. Right? Just like I told you. You go and you get involved and you're too boisterous and you want to and you come in with ideas to actually change and win, right? Like I said, inner city. I think that's the key, right, to saving your states, right? Go into those inner cities, and affect change that way. You've got Royce White, right?
Correct.
He's a role model for everybody, entrepreneur, sports figure, MMA fighter, alpha male, right? Perfect person to go into the inner city and affect change. Show these kids that, again, restore the American dream to the inner city. Show these kids that there's ways out, that the government isn't the answer. Because I'll tell you something, it should be a wake-up call to anybody that is in the inner city. Snap. Government decides they're going to close, you lose your benefits, right? You lose your benefit. The government controls what you eat, when you eat, how much you eat. Wouldn't you rather have self-governance? Wouldn't you rather be able to have your own source of money and revenue, and be an entrepreneur and create and build, than have the government dictate where you can live, how long you can live there? Right? Those are the messages that we need to take into the inner city, I believe. Right? And show them that there's a way out. There's a way out of poverty. There's a way out, and it's through self-governance and being an entrepreneur, and making something of yourself, giving them the American dream back that's been stolen from them. And we sat back and we allowed it. As the American people, we allowed this to be stolen from our youth, right? And we just can't sit back and allow it anymore. But they'll just push you out. You come up with an idea like that, Professor Penn. Yeah, it sounds good, but you know what? We've got other plans. That's what you'll hear. We've got it under control.
I don't really care
what are you doing?
I don't care what their plans are, Carl. The parties exist to elect Republicans. The way we do that in every district is know our neighbors and get them to the polls. We're coming up on a midterm election, off year. We're only going to get about a 20% participation rate amongst Republicans in the primary for this election. 1 in 5 people. We only have 1% of Republicans, about 15,000 out of 1.5 million, that participate in the caucus system. It's not anybody's fault but our own. We don't need the party to tell us what to do. We just need to know our neighbors and get them to the polls. The party has proven here in Minnesota, and actually it's very similar to Philadelphia. You're going to laugh. I was living in Philly when Frank Rizzo was the mayor.
Good old Frank, baby.
I mean, this stuff goes back. I mean, these are machine political states, machine politics, and they got their way of doing things, and we don't need to be dependent on them. But I always say this now because it's a mea culpa. I went into the party after 2020. I was pissed. I thought we were all Republicans. I ran my mouth, let everybody know what I thought, took them on. What a waste of energy. Actually, if we could convince you today to join your party in Pennsylvania or in Texas or in Minnesota, all you got to do is, first of all, here in Minnesota, you go to the Secretary of State website. They have a thing called a precinct finder. Find out where you are. Now you know where you are. Use that information to find your local committee. You call those people up and you say, I'm a Republican that wants to elect Republicans. Can I help? That's all you got to say. You don't have to say, I hate the Uni Party, because they're not going to call you back, because they are the Uni Party. You just have to say, I'm a Republican that wants to elect Republicans. You don't even have to get elected to your committee. Just start going to their meetings and sit there and listen. Be a witness. And then you don't have to tell these people what you believe. When you get into the party, just raise your hand and vote. There's too many people in the room. They're not going to figure out who you are unless you decide to be like me and Carl. You want to be the point of the spear. You don't have to do that. I could tell, Carl, you did the same thing I did in your backyard because you said they don't like you. See how childish we were back in 2021?
Yeah.
We should have been stealthy. I'd still be in the party.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right? Because they're stealthy, they're acting like they're Republicans.
Yeah.
Right?
True. 100%.
They 100%. Only come out when we bust them. Yep. Otherwise, they're acting like, oh my God, you guys suck. You're not going. This is what they've done in Minnesota. They're actually saying that America Firsters are not Republicans. Of course, you know who's leading that now is Mark Levin. I'm sure you got a lot to say about him. But I mean, the America First movement is now under threat as being branded as being anti-Semitic and, anti-American, anti-Trump. Why? Because we just want it to be about us,
America. Yeah. And
America,
for
right?
instance, Tanner's a young guy, right? I had somebody say this to me like a week ago. He's like, I love President Trump. He's like, but when he sits down and he's got all the tech bros around him and he's talking about how great the economy is and how hot America is, it doesn't resonate with youth because, well, they don't have money in the stock market. They don't care if the stock market's up. They want to know, how can I afford a house? Right? How can I afford a house? How can I lower my energy bill? Right? How can my car insurance come down? How can car payments come down? And me and you, we realize that he's working towards that, right? Nothing happens overnight. You don't just flip a switch and everything comes down. We know that, but we live in a world of instant gratification where our youth is used to everything being instant, right? So this isn't resonating with the youth. Now, Tanner, I ask you, like your peers and your friends, how do they? And I asked this a little bit earlier, but how do they feel about this affordability issue as far as the messaging from the White House? That's what I want to get at, I guess.
Oh,
If
I
you
guess,
understand my question.
yeah. I guess that, I don't know. Nobody believes it, I guess. I haven't met a single person that believes the economy is going good right now. I just think my peer group is so disengaged because we just don't want to deal with the BS of it. We're also just not educated on it. So I think it's a lot of my peers don't have an opinion because they just don't understand it at all.
Well, what you're saying is nobody believes the messaging.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a
For the main
distrust,
point, yeah. Sorry, I was
distrust
trying
of
to answer.
institutions, distrust.
Yeah, it's just distrust, and yeah, whenever we hear anybody say the economy is doing good, we don't believe them.
And you and I, Carl, probably agree. The way to rebuild trust the institutions is take some of these institutionalists that have corrupted the institutions and put them behind bars.
I'll hold them accountable, 100%.
One system of justice under God, one
Yep.
way of doing things. There's nobody protected because of who they are or what they've done. If you violated the law, you're going to jail because that's the only way to reestablish faith and rule of law. We can't have a two-tier system of justice, which we clearly have right now. So
100%.
we have a lot to work on. Carl, do you realize we've been on for an hour and a half already? Is that incredible how quick that went?
That went quick.
I
Always
hope
does.
you have me back on your show, and I'd like to have you
Absolutely.
back on here. And I'm so glad you're going to help me sell tires. It's good for your money. It's good for our money. We're working together. I'd like to work with some of your sponsors if you could set that up,
100%.
because it's all part of the same patriot economy, which is we're going to support the people that are supporting us, which is a really cool idea.
Yeah.
We don't have to go to war with any. We just have to set up our own systems because they're going along doing their thing. My thing is, I mean, I see what's going on. I just refuse to participate. I'm still carrying cash, for example. I like cash. And I see all those guitars behind you, and I'm thinking, do you still play those guitars?
Man, I do every once in a while, but my time, I'm kind of like you, right? So I got my handmade Yamaha behind me, right? And that's probably what I pick up the most because it's acoustic. You just sit back, and sometimes when you're a little stressed out, right? And you just want to lose yourself. Music is the best way to do it,
And
right?
if you go to Carl's show, which is 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Center on Rumble under the handle Killercarl from Tuesday to Saturday. Man, this guy's lighting it up with music. I mean, we can't do that here on YouTube because we're going to get struck out. But on Rumble, it's a little bit of a different ecosystem, and it's a entertaining podcast because Carl is a firecracker. You just got to go check it out. Check out Carl Tuesday to Saturday nights on Rumble. Carl, do you have any social media handles that you could share with the audience so they could follow you?
Yeah, just X Killercarl PCast. Killercarl PCast on X. You can follow me there and Rumble. That's it.
Well, that's good enough. Carl, I want to thank you for coming in. It's early. This is going to go up tomorrow. This is Monday morning, first thing. We're already at it, 7:30 in the morning. This is Tuesday night. Now everybody's hearing this. I'd like to hope you'll invite me back on your show. I want you back on our show. We want to not only form a community of patriots that are involved in politics at the grassroots level, I want to have a community of fellow truth seekers that have these podcasts that we're all working together. So thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it. It was great to have you. I enjoy your show. Everybody in my audience, check out Killercarl. It's great. Carl, any parting thoughts for tonight?
Yeah, the patriot economy. I just want to end it with this, if it's okay. Go in the Tire Get or any of my sponsors. It's a win-win situation. You guys get great products and you support great content like Professor Penn has here. And you support candidates, America First candidates like Royce White. Your money and your dollar is a weapon. It's a weapon. It sends a message, right? So send the message to corporate interest that you're no longer wanting to do business with them. You're wanting to do business with people like Professor Penn, people that support America. They keep the money here. They keep the money here. Small business. That's the key. Small business and patriotic businesses that care about this country, and they value your money. They value your energy, like Professor Penn, you were saying earlier. So support Professor Penn, support Tire Get.
That's very
It's
kind.
important.
Very kind of you, Carl. What we seek is a nation of independent shopkeepers, people who are self-governing. That's what we got to restore. Thanks very much for taking time this morning to be with us, Carl. Tanner,
Yeah,
thank you for coming in this morning.
of
Thank you very
course.
much.
Thank you, Tanner.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah. God bless.